This video is brought to you by Miniature Market. Thousands of board games, miniatures, and paints, discount prices at miniaturemarket.com. Hey everybody, it's your old pal Rob. Now by the title, I know I'm going to get a ton of comments, only because this is a, kind of a weird argument. But, can we justify it? Can we not say that maybe Shadows of Brimstone may be the greatest dungeon crawl of all time? Board game dungeon crawl? Okay, because we just don't count Dungeons and Dragons, because that is a, role-playing with a bunch of people, a whole different animal. I'm talking about all-out board game dungeon crawl. You can argue Hero Quest, you can argue a lot of things, but let's look at the things that Shadows of Brimstone does, okay? You are taking, sure, it's not your traditional dungeon crawl, fantasy dungeon crawl with a fighter, a mage, this, that, and the other. It's something a little bit different, but what it does is a lot of different things, and it's the amount of stuff that is out there for it and the different worlds that you can go to. How many games do that? How many different dungeon crawl games do what Shadows of Brimstone does? And why do I consider it one of the greatest of all time? And does it overtake Warhammer Quest for me? Slowly but surely it does. In some ways, and I'm really arguing with myself over how I feel about this game versus some of the games that mean so much to me, like in a 95 Warhammer Quest. Shadows of Brimstone, you start off and you play that initial set, and then of course you have the warps where you can go to Tantarga or whatever. I can't hear myself speak, and I know a lot of people kill me over pronouncing things, but new words I can't pronounce because I'm partially deaf and I can't hear myself say them. So I know I'm not saying them right because I can feel that it's coming out, and what I hear doesn't match up. It's a very tough thing. But let's get back to the subject at hand. And as you play this set and you go through the scenarios, it's at that point when you go, okay, this is really good. I had a lot of fun with it. And going back and leveling up and stuff like that. That when you can bring in a frontier town, which gives you an entirely different experience. Now you're taking your base set and you are moving to a town. And here's where expansions really just make this game great. We had a recent expansion. Are there too many expansions? Well, this is one game that where the expansion, yes, there's millions of expansion, and you fall into a rabbit hole with it, buying them all. But the thing is that every expansion adds something different. Okay, and after you have the OK Corral kind of shootouts and stuff like that, and this Darkstone and all the different things that can happen, then you run into the XXL figures that add a different variance. The Guardian of Targa, how he adds things. Then you run into, oh by God, the Derelict Ship. That gives you another entire different experience. You're not just, okay, well, we can have different villains going through different types of formations of the same dungeon. You are going through different types of tiles. You're having different experiences. Okay, maybe your group runs through different things. The Lost Army does different things where it brings in, and then you can add this horror, this horror aspect of it with the werewolves and the vampires and stuff like that, which adds this whole horror element into your dungeon crawl. So it's an ever-changing experience as you're taking these characters, and they're experiencing all these things. No wonder why you have sanity in this game, because you're really going to lose your marbles. Then the wastelands, you know, and then you can go and mix it in with Forbidden Fortress and all those type of things, a Cthulhu element. Then going down into the caverns of you know, the lava caverns, and facing off the magma giant and all that kind of stuff. Different times of beginning enemies, all kind of integrate together, along with, you know, the town, how you can change things with that, and mix in the experiences. And you just don't go with the ancient cities. You can get the other box set, which is basically kind of almost the same thing, but it gives you a swamp version of it. Not to mention the Teteria, which gives you a whole bunch of enemies that are hunting this Darkstone. Okay, and they are almost like the Darkstone police, and it builds this fantastic universe and story. And you have to sit here and question and go, could this really be the greatest or best of all time? There are so many different variances that the game does not become old. And one of my favorite things is to keep this upside down. Is, you know, like I said, the Blasted Wastelands. Okay, which gives you this whole other different element. Okay, all the different characters you can play. There is a never-ending. I just don't think you could play it all. And it's a game that you know, there are times that I walk away for a little bit, and then I'm always drawn back to it. The same thing could be said about 95 after all these years, after, you know, close to, what, you know, 30 years? Close? You know, that is a game that resonates with me. How many dungeon crawls have you played lately that you play and then they sit on your shelf and you never revisit? Well, I can name a whole bunch of them right now. Okay, I can name off a whole bunch of them that don't have the staying power of a Shadows of Brimstone. And when I mention Shadows of Brimstone out to this community, it's like, I love that game. I love that game. You never get the thing. You never get the comments that you get when you bring up Swords and Sorcery, Altar Quest. A lot of people feel that's very, very fiddly. There's people that love it and hate it. There's a lot of love and hate for a lot of different dungeon crawls. You know, even a game that I absolutely adore. Okay, Chronicles of Drungar. That still has staying power, and I think that has something that is going to go. But there's a lot of people that go, "Oh, it's too fiddly," and this. There is a universal love for Shadows of Brimstone. I'm pointing over there because it's over there. And my man, the Drifter. Okay? You know, when you can take Clint Eastwood and have this incredibly different feel, or play him as a female character, which I think is another fantastic aspect of it, okay? Which gives you a different feel to things. Everything in this has this incredible role-playing and just moving experience that you cannot find in a lot of other games. Tell me where you find it. Okay? You know, like I said, a lot of things you play and you drop off from. Okay? And it doesn't mean that they're bad games. It's just, do they have the staying power of a Shadows and Brimstone? The way a Warhammer Quest has a staying power. And I'm not talking about all these newer games that I really like, you know, like Chronicles, and you know, some of the other, you know, science fiction stuff and things like that, the newer things. You know, I look at it as far as something that has, you know, a game that is over 5 to 6 or 7 years. You know, Descent has a lot of staying power, but look what's happened with that recently. Okay, what a train wreck that is, and what they did with the second edition. Sure, you got a lot there, but boy, you know, we all missed the first edition, most of us. Okay, the second edition, controversial to some degree, and let's not even start with the next edition that you can't call the third edition. Okay, according to them. All right. And Warhammer Quest, let's take a look at that. You know, we have newer versions. Look what happened with Curse City and the train wreck that became. Do I still need to put some time in it? Sure do. Chronicles is too young, okay, to really count. There's a bunch of other things that are out there, and forgive me, it skips my mind. Swords and Sorcery, it's very Euro. I just don't. There are people that either love it or hate it. We got a video coming out about that that you want to see. Gloomhaven, that's a whole different animal. I think. I mean, there's plenty to it, and it does a lot of different things. But does it count towards this? I mean, towards this tremendous experience? I think we really have to look at this, and I really look forward to seeing and hearing your comments. You know, this is my personal take on it. You know, how do I feel about this game? And when I sat here and I've been playing this game and painting it and just all around enjoying everything that I've been doing as I've come to the revised set and worked on the revised set, and how much everything has improved, and how, you know, they just take simple concepts and just integrate this in there, and you go, wow, this all makes sense. Yeah, you know, I forget a few things when I play it, but for the most part, it is such an enjoyable experience. You know, the D&D box set games, they're fantastic, okay? But do they have, you know, each one is kind of almost the same, where, you know, Shadows, you know, people say, well, you know, it becomes a dice chucker after a while. But the experiences are different. The powers of each creature are different. Where you go is different. You know, the mechanics stay the same. And the same thing with the D&D boxes. And you can integrate all four of those together. And, you know, I think that those have to be considered as you know, one of the best, because they are beloved by everybody. But I really think that when you look at all this, Shadows just keeps on glowing up, you know, going even farther. And now with you know, the Shadows of Brimstone adventures, you know, where you're adding conquistadors and Vikings, it's a real interesting thing, and it just keeps growing. It's something that doesn't go away, and that's what we always wanted out of our dungeon crawls, is to keep giving us good, solid content, and the guys over at Flying Frog do that, and they do a wonderful and magnificent job of it. You know, I would love to have all of it, okay, and I almost have all of it, but you know, and I keep on bringing it in. Why? Because I can't stop. Because I enjoy it. It's one of those things that doesn't sit there. We talked about expansions that sit there. No, they won't sit there. We're going to keep going with this, and we're going to keep experiencing this. You know, we've played a lot of this. Now, this is unopened, but that's only because my version, I painted up and I sent to somebody, Herman Lutman. So now I got to repaint this one. But we'll get to it, and we're going to play it. And I love the fact that it's upside down, and it drives people crazy. Just a personal thing. All right, guys. I'm looking forward to hearing your comments on this. There is just so much about this that makes it fantastic. You know, we can really say positive things about Blackstone Fortress, too, but they killed that off. But this thing stays here and endures. Does it equate to, do you, in your range of thought, does this game really have to be considered one of the greatest of all time? And even though you have a passion for Hero Quest, and me with, you know, 95 Warhammer Quest, and some of the other things that I really enjoy, you have to look at the body of work and the experience as a whole. And I have to say that this has to be considered one of the greatest dungeon crawls of all time. I really feel that way. So let me know what you think. I would love to hear what your thoughts are. Pros, cons, whatever. But be kind about it. Don't be snarky about it. Okay? Be constructive. I love hearing what you have to say. Be kind, and you'll get a great response. Or we'll just wipe it from the face of the earth. All right? So please, I look forward to your comments below. I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say. Leave it in the bottom. And until next time, it's your old pal Rob.